It was obvious to me that we build out in a very cross-disciplinary way our work in capital investing and policy and philanthropy. We can do this work forever and ever, and then we could have the narrative overtaken by someone who has a lot of power, who is completely contrary to us. And we could never get to the place where we think we are part of a more just and equal society. So it became obvious that if we could become part of the creation of cultural narratives that would enhance and amplify all of the work that we're doing, we want to inspire the kind of stories that we want to see told. Now, what I just said wasn't from a dystopian movie. It wasn't from, for instance, 1984. It wasn't from a movie or a book or any kind of media that is fictitious or has any kind of apocalyptic undertones to it. That right there is from Lauren Powell Jobs, and for those of you who don't know, that's Steve Jobs' widow. Those words came from a billionaire who has influence, who has a stake in Apple, who has a stake in other companies as well. And she just told you in plain sight, in plain English, that the narrative must be controlled. And if you don't follow the narrative with which we create, we will silence you. If you don't toe the company line, we're going to have a problem with you. If you have an opinion, if you have an idea counter to what we have already established, we will make sure to get rid of you because we control the flow of information. We control what you see and hear. And allowing free and open public discourse cannot be allowed in today's 2020 United States of America. Let's take a listen to her actual quote here.
It was pretty obvious to me that we could build, we build out in a very cross-disciplinary way our work in capital investing and policy and philanthropy, and we could do this work forever and ever, and we could have the narrative overtaken by someone who has a lot of power, who's completely contrary to us, and we could never get to the place where we think we're part of a more just and equal society. And so it was obvious that if we could be part of the creation of cultural narrative, that would enhance and amplify all the work that we're doing.
Which is Hillary Clinton talked about today, is telling the story, getting the content out there.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
So these are early days for us, but that's the idea behind it. We want to inspire the kind of stories that we'd like to see told.
Do you ever see you buying something bigger, like the New York Times, for example?
Is it for sale?
It could be for you.
So folks, what you just heard is actually the pretext. It's the precursor to what they're doing to Elon Musk now. I don't know if you've ever sat down and thought about this, but the flow of information, the information that you get, the information that you consume on a daily basis, that all Americans consume on a daily basis, not just you, but each and every one of us. And a lot of it isn't by choice. We see it everywhere, regardless of what we're signed up for, regardless of what we have pushed to our spam mail, regardless of what we do and don't have selected to see in our news feeds, in our Twitter feeds. But whether we like it or not, the information that we are force-fed is custom tailored to advance a specific narrative or a specific agenda. What Lauren just said here proves that unequivocally. There's no question, there's no debate. And the other concerning part about that is they're not even trying to hide this agenda anymore. This wasn't something said in passing. This wasn't something hinted to. This was a blanket and very forward statement saying that if someone comes in who isn't a part of the club of power and influence that we dominate, then we have to get rid of them. And that's, like I said, that's precisely what they're doing to Elon Musk. At least that's what they're trying to do. I mean, right now as I speak, they're trying to make it so Twitter is pulled down from the Apple Store. All because Elon Musk won't toe the company line. All because Elon Musk, while I don't agree with everything that he has stated, he has made great strides in trying to return Twitter to a place of open discourse where you don't have an all-powerful leftist Twitter keyboard warrior who doesn't like something, who's been indoctrinated by the Department of Education for their entire lives. And if he or she doesn't like something that you said, well, you know what? That's it. Your post is taken down. And if you have so many infractions, you know what? We're going to ban you because you say stuff that we don't like. Anyhow, as I was saying earlier, I don't know if you realize this, but the entirety of the flow of information, it's controlled almost entirely by 5 companies. You have Microsoft, you have Apple, you have Facebook/Meta, you have Google as a whole and everything that it owns. And even more importantly, I don't think a lot of people realize, but Amazon controls a lot of the flow of information too, because Amazon actually hosts the servers for a lot of these major companies. If your views don't line up with the status quo, if your views don't line up with the current political narrative that you're being force-fed, they'll pull you from your ability to host whatever you're trying to host online. They did it with Parler. Not only did they do that with Parler, but additionally, they pulled Parler from the Apple Store and the Google Play Store. They effectively shut them down as a proponent of free speech. And let's get this notion out of the way here. A company ceases to be a private company when it literally controls the information flow that the entirety of a populace receives. Not only does it control all of the information, but it colludes with the government as to what information it should and shouldn't peddle. These companies are essentially more powerful than the United States government. Think about that for a moment. That's who you have, with or without your permission, force-feeding all of the information and media that you consume on a daily basis, and you have no control over it. As I stated just a minute ago, they completely pulled Parler back when it was first created. They took it down from Google Play. They took it down from the Apple Store. You have massive companies controlling the ability for your own company to even exist. And if your company happens to be in the information business, in the freedom of information business, if you allow public discourse from an opposing side, from an opinion that does not align with your own, if you allow this, you're going to be shut down. It's happened at every turn here. I mean, if I remember correctly, Parler had to actually go outside of the United States just to get their stuff hosted. That shouldn't have to happen in a free and open society. And so that leads us now into the main portion, the main crux of what today's video is about. And that's about Elon Musk, with the top most massive companies in the United States colluding with one another, including the United States government, to do whatever they can to not only deplatform Elon Musk, but potentially get it removed from the Apple Store. All because Musk has a problem with one-sided information. At least it would give, at least by all appearances he does. I mean, the man actually puts his money where his mouth is. He bought Twitter because he wanted to bring freedom and trust back to the platform. He wanted to bring back free and open discourse to essentially what he calls the public town square of the United States. And to him, that's what Twitter is. But you see, you have the top companies, including the government. They are so threatened by the free and open exchange of information and ideas. If you take this a step further, it really makes you wonder just what is going on behind the scenes, and more importantly, what they're trying to hide. If it's not apparent to you yet, it should be apparent to you now. We no longer live in a free and open society. We no longer live in a state where you can express your opinion, have someone disagree with it, and have an open and honest debate about it to discern the truth. That's the way it used to work, and that's precisely what this country was founded upon. Now you have top companies along with the government colluding together to control all of the information flow within the United States, colluding to force feed the population a specific narrative. And along comes Elon Musk here, states, you know what, Twitter is no longer what it was meant to be, what it was designed to be, spends $44 billion, buys this company with the intent of allowing free and open discourse on, like I said, what he calls the town square of America. And now you have the most massive corporations in the United States trying to shut him down, colluding to shut him down. He is a clear and present danger to them. He is a direct threat to their ability to control the flow of information. As we just watched with Lauren, if you go against the narrative, you are a threat to them. Remember, someone isn't allowed to come in, not toe the existing company line to achieve whatever the end goal is and allow free and open discourse. Again, Lauren herself just said that. And now that leads us into what Karine Jean-Pierre said about Elon Musk herself. And notice she read this entire thing. This was a pre-planned question and a pre-planned response. There was nothing spontaneous about this. This question was inserted and designed specifically to be answered here. This specific information the Biden administration wanted to make known to the populace of America. Let's take a listen to this here.
Question about Twitter. There's a researcher at Stanford who says that this is a critical moment, really, in terms of ensuring that Twitter does not become a vector for misinformation. Are you concerned about Elon Musk says there's more and more subscribers coming online. Are you concerned about that, and what tools do you have? Who is it at the White House that is really keeping track of this?
So look, this is something that we're certainly keeping an eye on. And we have always been very clear. And that when it comes to social media platforms, it is their responsibility to make sure that when it comes to misinformation, when it comes to the hate that we're seeing, that they take action, that they continue to take action. Again, we're all keeping a close eye on this. We're all monitoring what's currently occurring, and we see it with our own eyes of what you all are reporting, and just for ourselves what's happening on Twitter. But again, social media companies have a responsibility to prevent their platforms from being used by any user to incite violence, especially violence directed at individual communities, as we have been seeing, and the president has been very clear on calling that out. He'll continue to do that, and we're going to continue to monitor the situation. Go ahead, Phil.
Thanks, Karina.
So there are so many problems with this little clip here that I don't even know where to start. So let's take the very beginning when she asks Karine Jean-Pierre what is going to be done to ensure that Twitter doesn't become a quote-unquote factor of disinformation. Well, first off, who does she think she is? A factor of disinformation? Do we now have a Ministry of Truth, where officially there's an all-powerful entity or a conglomerate of entities deciding what is and isn't quote-unquote truth in today's society? Well, maybe not officially, but unofficially, absolutely. The proof is unequivocal for this. So we're now at the point where you have the masses automatically crying fire whenever the potential exists for an opinion outside of the narrative or what they're trying to push. If there's even the potential for free and open discourse, it doesn't even have to happen yet. If there's even the potential for free and open discourse, this leftist reporter is asking Karine Jean-Pierre, a representative of the Biden administration, what is the government going to do to rein in this free and open discourse? Now, it isn't phrased as free and open discourse. It's phrased as misinformation, which is a catch-all phrase. Who decides what's information? Who decides what's misinformation? Who gets to decide what is and isn't valid, what is and isn't accurate? What all-powerful entity is given that kind of absolute power over a society, over a populace? If you can't see the danger in that, then I truly hope you read and study history to see where that kind of governance takes you. It was George Washington that said, a free and open society needs no governing body to decide what truth is and truth isn't, to decide what information is valid and what information isn't valid. It was George Washington that said that information in a free and open society, the ability to discuss it, brings out what the truth is, because fact can be discerned from fiction that way. If you take away a free and open society, if you take away the discourse that allows this, what are you left with? You're left with an all-powerful entity telling you what they want you to believe. You're left with an all-powerful entity telling you what is and isn't true, regardless of what the reality of the situation is. When I think about this, I think back to a scene in the movie 1984. If you haven't watched it before, it is not a show for children. Please do not show this to your kids. But there's a scene in it where the main character, who goes by the name of Winston Smith, is essentially being tortured for having subversive thought. He's being tortured for not agreeing with the political narrative that is being forced to everyone in that society. He's being tortured because he is being forced to change news, to change fact and distort reality and making it more presentable, more palatable for his political area, for ultimately Big Brother. And in this scene, O'Brien, who is actually the main antagonist of the movie itself, he's trying to get Winston Smith to agree with whatever he says, regardless of what the truth is. O'Brien repeatedly asks Smith, what is 2 plus 2? Now Smith, knowing that 2 plus 2 equals 4, keeps on stating the actual answer to the question, however many times O'Brien asks it until a certain point, until he can no longer take the torture that's being forced upon him, until 2 plus 2 to Smith now equals 5.
Do you know why you're here? Shall I tell you why we brought you here? To cure you. To make you sane. That was 40. You can see that the numbers on this dial run up to 100. Will you please remember that during our conversation, I have it in my power to inflict pain on you at any time, and in whatever degree I choose.
Yes.
You know perfectly well what is the matter with you, Winston. You've known it for years, though you've fought against the knowledge. You are mentally deranged. You suffer from a defective memory. You've never tried to cure yourself of it because you did not choose to. It was a small effort of will which you were not ready to make. Do you remember writing in your diary, freedom is the freedom to say 2 plus 2 equals 4?
Yes.
How many fingers am I holding up, Winston?
4.
And if the party says there are not 4, but 5, then how many?
5.
No. That's no use. You're lying. How many fingers, please?
4. What else can I say? 5, 4, anything you like. Only please stop it. Stop the pain. How can I help it? How can I help what I see under my eyes?
What this is showing is that given enough time, given enough hardship, given enough influence, pain, and control, anybody can be convinced of anything. And you're willing to say whatever you have to make it stop. What if the modern day version of this isn't torture? What if it isn't physical pain? What if it is simply your ability to function in modern day society? Your ability to work, your ability to have a family, your ability to use the services with which you pay for. Without free and open discourse, the society in 1984 is entirely 100% totalitarian. It is controlled entirely from the top at the top. And if you dare speak out against it, you are silenced. If you cannot see this going on around you right now, I truly hope that you can have your eyes open, because once you have free and open discourse, once you have free thought taken away, and the ability to discuss it over the largest social platforms, over the internet as a whole. The internet has opened up communication between people across the world. What better way to find new ideas, to discuss new things, and discern what truth is than to be able to talk with as many human beings, as many people as humanly possible? Remember, as George Washington said, to discern the truth, all one needs to have is a free and open society, because that free and open society will be able to shoot down all of the wrong ideas, all of the incorrect ideas. And right now, you have a government colluding with the most powerful organizations, the most powerful companies that have ever existed on the planet. You have them colluding together to control all the information that you see and hear, and you have them colluding together to stop a man and to stop really a global platform from allowing free and open discourse. If that doesn't shake you to your very core, I don't know what will. So you may ask, what can you do? What can little old me do to help this along? What can little old me do to stop this? Well, individually, if there's just one of you, not a whole lot. But if everyone gets together, writes their representatives, elects the people in power who promote free and open discourse, if the people who want control are voted out of office, that's one of the single most powerful things that you as an individual could do, because that is an individual act that, when combined as a collective, can get things done in the United States of America. Now, that's assuming we have free and fair elections, but that's a completely different topic for another time. But that's what we as United States citizens have to do. You know, something else you can do is really put your money where your mouth is. Don't spend money with companies that do not support the freedom of speech. A company exists because it gets revenue from you. Put your money where your mouth is and take your money away where your speech is not allowed. Thank you for joining me for the Vision of Veritas. If you got anything out of today's episode, please like, share, and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. I want to continue this channel, but I cannot do it without you. If there's anything you would like me to cover, if there are any topics you'd like me to bring up, please leave them down in the comments. Thank you for listening, and as always, take care.